Caribbean Muslims drawn to the Middle East to fight for ISIS.
My ambition is to migrate to the Islamic State and live within the caliphate.
But when they go, is it everything it's cracked up to be?
It's really boring at times. You know, it's really cold.
The Caribbean's role in the international fight to stop ISIS. And later,
at 6 p.m. this afternoon, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was overthrown.
He's been charged with treason, murder, sedition, and extortion. Most recently, Trinidadian Muslim leader Yassin Abu Bakr was denied entry into Jamaica.
It was like a joke. I mean, first time in Jamaica for 4 days, how can I radicalize the people in Jamaica?
A victimized Muslim leader or a real threat to regional and international security? On this episode of 18 Degrees North.
"18 Degrees North" is brought to you by
Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean. Variety is the spice of life, and Rainforest Seafoods brings you the widest and best choices of fish and seafood, flash frozen to seal in all the natural goodness until ready to cook. It's really fresher than fresh. That's a fish fact from Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean.
Hello, I'm Zara Burton and welcome to 18 Degrees North. It's from right here, 18 degrees north of the equator in Kingston, Jamaica, where every week we're going to take you on a global journey with us as we bring you Caribbean stories that have global impact. And we begin our show with the latest war on terror, the fight against Islamic State or ISIS. The group has executed captured prisoners, beheaded 2 American journalists, and the US says killed children, enslaved, raped, and forced women into marriage. The US intelligence community believes thousands of foreigners, including Europeans and Americans, have joined the enemy in Syria and Iraq. Here in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago confirms some of its very own nationals have gone to fight with this so-called terrorist organization. So why are they going? And are recruitment efforts by ISIS in the Caribbean confined to just this nation? To find out, we head to the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago at 11 degrees north and 62 degrees west. There's at least a dozen of them. Milton John Algernon, Shane Crawford, Abu Abdurrahman al-Trinidadi, Shazam Mohammed. Just some of the Trinidadians suspected of having gone to fight for the Islamic State or ISIS, and happy to serve on frontline duty.
I know John looked like he died of natural causes.
A few of the men, like Milton John Algernon, stayed here, Booth Settlement in Rio Claro, in the countryside of Trinidad. Neighbors wouldn't say much except that he also goes by the name Farid Mustafa or Redman, and stayed at this pink house where relatives of a local imam live. We checked, but no one was home. So we went to see the imam, Nazim Mohammed, who at first claimed Algernon only came by once in a while at the mosque.
Well, he stayed here a while, and then he couldn't make it with what, maybe this rigidness or the strictness and so on, and he left the community. And then he gone, he was not here, he left here. When they mentioned about him, it was about 2 or 3 years or more that he left the community.
We then questioned him about Algernon living at his family's home.
We give him to stay there, no problem, yeah. Not too long, but I can't remember the timing, to be truthful. I really can't remember the timing, but he stayed there.
Mohammed says the hospitality was him being a good Muslim, helping a fellow brother in need.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Please, all believers come. Who can make it come? Come to Sham as soon as possible.
The US estimates that just over 30,000 people are fighting for ISIS, some from Europe and even its own country. And even though it's formed an international coalition and launched an airstrike campaign to stop the movement, fighters keep signing up.
The whole fact that the coalition is led by the US, which is perceived within the jihadist that is the root of all evil, the root of all injustice and imperialism that is destroying the Middle East. That's incredibly powerful as a weapon for Islamic State recruitment.
Their leader is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who's been called the true heir to Osama bin Laden. Determined to establish a hardline Islamic State, he's captured wide swaths of Syria and Iraq and seized oil fields, from which he earns millions of dollars. Ruthless in his quest, opponents and even former associates have been shot or decapitated, aid workers and Western journalists too.
Is James Wright Foley, an American citizen of your country.
The gruesomeness of these videos only serves to attract more recruits, especially young, converted, and more radical Muslims. Technology helps too. This online sermon on Christmas Day 2014 had about 250 attendees and painted an ideal picture of the Islamic State.
Free food, clothing, and shelter. Also free gas, free electricity, free water for every citizen, Muslim and non-Muslim. In this fledgling state, people are giving free houses, even salaries, up to $500, $1,000 every single month, money for every newborn.
Who is the accuser?
We caught up with one of the sermon's organizers, Sheikh Faisal, an Islamic cleric imprisoned for inciting murder in Britain and deported to Jamaica in 2007.
My ambition is to migrate to the Islamic State and live within the caliphate at least a day, a week, a month, a year, or even a decade before I die, because it's more conducive to our Islamic faith. A Muslim living in the UK, it's not appropriate because they allow men to marry men, women to marry women. It's very embarrassing for a Muslim to live in the UK because it's not conducive to his Islamic faith.
And what will you do in Iraq?
I suspect they will ask me to teach, but I would rather do teaching as well as fighting, not just teaching.
But despite the promise of an ideal Islamic State, the reality on the ground may be far different. A recent report says 200 foreign fighters were killed for wanting to return home. And in this Skype chat obtained exclusively by 18 Degrees North, one Trinidadian woman who had gone with her husband and kids to live in Syria in November 2013 recently expressed to an imam she wanted to leave.
If I go from the Islamic State, am I a kafir? Sometimes it's really hard here.
Where would you go?
It's really boring at times.
You're not a kafir if you still support the dollar in your heart.
You know, it's really cold. Plus, most times I'm by myself with the kids. So frustrating. No insulated houses here, so I only have this electric heater I use when electricity comes. It's so hard. I'm so confused sometimes. I feel so hurt I am not there. Yesterday I chatted with my dad and he was all crying. Z really keep me away from my family, you know. He always saying that they are kafirs.
Okay, if you go back to Trinidad and Tobago, would you stay there or return to Dala?
That's the thing. It's not so good in Trinidad. Islam is so much craziness.
And what would happen if she or others in Syria tried to come back to Trinidad? The country's Director of National Security says measures are in place to deal with their arrival.
If that person who has been flagged is actually detected, they will be interviewed, and it will be what I'll call the discretion of the law enforcement agencies, the evidence-based information that will be gathered, and then the necessary law enforcement actions will be taken.
But can Trinidad really stop the free flow of alleged terrorists? The country has stepped up surveillance and intelligence gathering, created a watch list, and says it's working with Interpol, the FBI, and CIA. But so far, no arrests. And a UN resolution the country recently co-sponsored to restrict the movement of ISIS fighters has added little to local counter-terrorism efforts.
We have not been in receipt, nor have we asked for any sort of financial or technical support.
With the US having already spent $1 billion and counting, and yet to make a meaningful dent against ISIS. The question is, if they can't do it, how will Trinidad? Coming up on 18 Degrees North, leaders of Argentina's Jewish community say radical Islamic groups have been building bases right here in the Caribbean.
I think they see the Caribbean as a bridge to reach North America.
The growing links between the Caribbean and supposed terrorist organizations, that's next on 18 Degrees North.
Be heart strong. You can reduce your chances of getting heart disease by eating more fish. In fact, seafood is likely the single most important food you can consume for good health. That's a fish fact from Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean. Get good value every day. When you eat fish twice a week, you get an excellent source of protein. Good for the whole family. Fish is quick, easy, affordable, and scales high on value. A fish fact from Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean.
Are you a man over 40 and feeling tired, losing muscle, have less romantic drive? Then call now for the Ageless Male Free Testosterone Giveaway. For the first time ever, not just 100 or 1,000, but every man who calls in the next few minutes will receive a free 30-day supply of Ageless Male. Ageless Male has ingredients clinically shown to increase free testosterone levels, and that supports muscle health, boosts romantic drive, and supports energy metabolism. Even though we've already sold over 800,000 bottles of Ageless Male, this is the first time ever we're offering Ageless Male for free. All you pay is shipping and handling. More muscle, more romantic drive, more energy. And it all starts with this amazing offer, the Ageless Male Free Testosterone Giveaway. Your free 30-day supply is waiting for you. Call now.
Don't delay. This is a limited time offer. Call 1-800-473-7364 to secure your free bottle today. That's 1-800-473-7364. Call now.
We may have just recently learned about Trinidadians going to fight with ISIS, but as early as May 2013, a special prosecutor from Argentina looking into the 1994 bombing of one of the country's Jewish centers reported that Iran was actually setting up intelligence bases in Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname. The Jewish human rights group Simon Wiesenthal Center further reported that it had heard of young Trinidadians heading to Lebanon for Hezbollah training. Joining us now to discuss how and why terrorist organizations are recruiting Caribbean nationals is Sergio Witter, the center's director in Latin America. He's with us via Skype from Buenos Aires. When did you first become aware of Trinidadian nationals heading over to the Middle East to fight?
When we visited Trinidad and Tobago in 2011, staying there, we've learned about nationals going to the Middle East to join radical groups. We learned this from top governmental sources.
And how are they recruiting Caribbean nationals?
They can be recruited either through chat groups or jihadist websites, or eventually in extremist religious communities.
Why do you think these Middle Eastern countries are after Caribbean nationals?
They have an intention to reach a global scope. And there's no reason to leave the Caribbean region out of this. I think they see the Caribbean as a bridge to reach North America.
Dina Bortese, who is the son of the president in Suriname, pled guilty to helping Hezbollah set up a base in Suriname to launch attacks against the United States. What do you make of that?
I think these people are trying to establish themselves in places where they can find a friendly environment, and it's clear that Suriname offered them these opportunities. They were dealing directly with the son of the president. I mean, those are high-level contacts.
We know about Guyana, we know about Suriname, we know about Trinidad and Tobago, but are there other countries that haven't been in the mix that we should be aware of?
I do not have information to say that, but I would say that the fact that they are being successful in Suriname, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Guyana, it's an alert, it's an alarm for the other Caribbean countries.
Have you communicated with Caribbean governments about what exactly to do to combat the threat of terrorism that seems to be brewing in the Caribbean?
We visited many Caribbean countries a couple of years ago and had meetings with the authorities of those countries. And among the things we discussed was the threat of extremist groups trying to abuse their hospitality. We visited countries like Antigua and Barbuda, we visited St. Kitts and Nevis, we visited Barbados, and we were in Trinidad and Tobago as well.
How does the Caribbean stop the threat from terrorism?
I think it's time for many countries in the Caribbean to strengthen policies of prevention, to understand that this is a major threat for all population, for the whole population, that terrorism does not discriminate. This is not something that can be prevented by a government by itself. Terrorism is a global threat, and the response must also be global in terms of regional and international cooperation.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
That's Sergio Witter. He is the Latin American director of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Buenos Aires. Coming up on 18 Degrees North, when Trinidadian Yassin Abu Bakr was denied entry into Jamaica, the concern was he would radicalize Jamaicans.
It was like a joke. I mean, how, first time in Jamaica for 4 days, how can I radicalize the people in Jamaica?
Is he a radical Islamist or a father merely trying to celebrate his birthday with his family? Our sit down with the Jamaat al-Muslimeen leader coming up next on 18 Degrees North.
The preceding segment was brought to you by
Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean. Here is an amazing fish fact. The omega-3 fatty acids present in fish have great health benefits on the brain, eyes, nerves, muscles, and the heart. Eating fish and seafood contribute to a longer, healthier life. Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean. Be heart strong. You can reduce your chances of getting heart disease by eating more fish. In fact, seafood is likely the single most important food you can consume for good health. That's a fish fact from Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean.
Are you a man over 40 and feeling tired, losing muscle, have less romantic drive? Then call now for the Ageless Male Free Testosterone Giveaway. For the first time ever, not just 100 or 1,000, but every man who calls in the next few minutes will receive a free 30-day supply of Ageless Male. Ageless Male has ingredients clinically shown to increase free testosterone levels, and that supports muscle health, boosts romantic drive, and supports energy metabolism. Even though we've already sold over 800,000 bottles of Ageless Male, this is the first time ever we're offering Ageless Male for free. All you pay is shipping and handling. More muscle, more romantic drive, more energy. And it all starts with this amazing offer, the Ageless Male Free Testosterone Giveaway. Your free 30-day supply is waiting for you. Call now.
Don't delay. This is a limited time offer. Call 1-800-473-7364 to secure your free bottle today. That's 1-800-473-7364. Call now.
He was accused of trying to overthrow the Trinidadian government in 1990. Was mentioned in a plot to blow up JFK Airport in New York City in 2007. More recently, Yassin Abu Bakr was denied entry into Jamaica, the first time he says he's ever been turned away from entering a country. So who is this imam from Trinidad and Tobago? Is he really a danger to the security of the Caribbean region? We sat down with Abu Bakr for an extensive interview at the Jamaat al-Muslimeen Center in Port of Spain at 11 degrees north and 62 degrees west.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
This is where we met him, just before Friday prayers at the compound of Jamaat al-Muslimeen, the organization he founded on the outskirts of Port of Spain. Only 10 days earlier, Trinidadian Muslim leader Yassin Abu Bakr was denied entry into Jamaica because he was seen as a threat to the country's national security.
It was like a joke. I mean, how, first time in Jamaica for 4 days, how can I radicalize the people in Jamaica?
Abu Bakr may be smiling now, But his past is no laughing matter.
At 6 p.m. this afternoon, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was overthrown.
This was him back in July 1990. Abu Bakr's Jamaat al-Muslimeen had invaded the government TV station and Trinidad's Red House and taken members of parliament and journalists like Raoul Panton hostage.
You were living with the possibility that any minute you could die, which I don't think even the bravest man in the world would look forward to experiencing.
Staged in part to protest the government's occupation of the Jamaat's disputed land, the ordeal lasted 6 days.
At one point in time, we had a bit of a brief conversation where he said to me, "I'm a believer in democracy." And I said, "Really? But what you are doing is very, very strange for a man to believe in democracy."
In the end, 24 people died, most in the mass looting that took place on the streets of Port of Spain. One member of parliament was killed. Then Prime Minister Arthur Robinson was beaten and shot in the leg. Abu Bakr would spend only 2 years in jail before an amnesty agreement made during the siege would set him free. And it's not just the coup. In 2006, when Bakr was charged with conspiracy to murder, the case never went to trial because there was not enough evidence. Then again, after a fiery sermon led to charges that he threatened rich Muslims who didn't give their required tithes or zakat to Jamaat, his trial ended in a hung jury. No matter the charge, Yassin Abu Bakr remains a free man.
There were several other trump-up charges, false charges, all of which I won before the very courts that they own.
Born Lennox Philip and Diego Martin, roughly 6 miles west of Port of Spain, Bakr grew up Christian, but converted to Islam just before moving to Canada, where he studied at Ryerson University.
I was searching and I found the answers that I was searching for in the Quran.
After 6 years of working as a TV producer at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, he returned to Trinidad and formed Jamaat al-Muslimeen, along with others like Sheikh Hassan Anyabuleh, now living in London.
There were multiple types of Islamic organization of Afro-Caribbean people in Trinidad. We dissolved all the leaderships and we appointed Imam Yassin Abu Bakr as the leader at that time.
Membership quickly grew into the hundreds under Bakr's leadership.
And they sought to quell that. They sought to stop that from happening, from young people becoming Muslims.
Poor blacks especially were drawn to Jamaat, many of whom had turned to drugs amid rising unemployment in the 70s. Funding from Libya's government, then run by Muammar Gaddafi, through an initiative to spread Islam, made that possible.
The majority of the quote-unquote criminals and bad boys became Muslims. That had a negative backlash, that Muslims were involved in kidnapping and drugs, and I would say yes, Muslims were involved, but was it something sanctioned by the community itself? No.
Years after the coup, people began seeing Abu Bakr's Jamaat as a criminal organization involved in extortion, money laundering, drugs, and weapons trafficking. In a 2002 New York Times article, Bakr said, "We do what the government cannot. We rule the streets." Bakr's and Jamaat's influence have also extended to the United States, both mentioned in a 2007 plot to blow up New York's JFK airport. According to court documents, the conspirators wanted Abu Bakr to connect them with Adnan Shukri Juma, an al-Qaeda operative known for his bomb-making abilities. Shukri Juma was recently killed. When asked, Bakr continues to deny any ties with the Trinidadian and Guyanese men convicted of the scheme.
Has there been any contact?
No, sir.
Still, internationally, Abu Bakr has been placed on security watch lists, which set off alarm bells when he tried to enter Jamaica in October 2014.
We don't want persons like him here, basically, and we took preemptive action to prevent that.
Jamaica would eventually spend US $36,000 to fly Abu Bakr back to Trinidad on a private jet.
First time in my 26 years of travel, international travel, that I was sent back from my country. First time.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
But back at home, old associates say Abu Bakr's influence on Jamaat is waning. Even on ISIS and widespread reports of Trinidadians joining the movement, Bakr claims he knows nothing.
No one has come to me and asked me about joining the resistance in Syria. I have no knowledge about ISIS. I can make no informed comment about ISIS.
As the Imam ages, his focus has turned to building schools and mosques and infighting over future leadership among younger, more radical members, and even his son is seen as undermining the organization.
You can't have an Islamic organization and you have people who associate with you or people who identify with you fighting each other and killing each other or fighting other elements in society. You know, it is destructive. That is my challenge to the Jamaat. You know, live up to your principles of Islam, qualify yourself as an Islamic group, qualify yourself as an imam.
Now 73, some say it may be too late for Yassin Abu Bakr to retake a full grip of the organization. The new threat may come from an even more radical leadership of Jamaat.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
For more of our interview with Trinidadian Imam Yassin Abu Bakr, go to our website, www.18degreesnorth.tv. And so this is where we bring the show to a close for this week. Join us online, look us up on Twitter, on Facebook, and send us your story ideas. We're there to keep all of us connected to the Caribbean. From all of us here at 18 Degrees North, thanks so much for watching. Have a good night. See you next time.
18 Degrees North is a production of Global Reporters for the Caribbean in association with
Rainforest Seafoods, fresh from the ocean.